Welcome to Lunacid, a well-crafted dungeon crawler that creates a very gothic and dark atmospheric world, being heavily inspired by older FromSoft games. And no, not from the Dark Souls series, but Kingsfield and Shadow Tower Abyss. I found this gem of a game completely random on Steam, where I played it a bit, but wanted to wait for its full release before deep diving in and finishing. A game with so many secrets involving hidden passages, shortcuts, and more deserved my full attention from start to end. So join me as I narrate over my first blind playthrough, and of course, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like.
Long ago, a great beast came from the sea and brought with it a poisonous fog that spread across the earth. Corrupting everything it reached, the poison fog slowly transformed the world and brought about a new age. Now, grounded by the poison sky and outnumbered by creatures, humankind became desperate and formed feudal kingdoms. Closed off from each other, they became paranoid and are on the brink of extinction. Those deemed undesirable, such as criminals or the ill, are cast out, banished into the depths of the Great Well, a pit of the diseased and undead. The Great Well is said to have but one door to the surface.
Without understanding much of what each class would offer me, I ended up going as the Undead, and what better name for a skeleton than Mr. Bony Pants. After losing a hand and being thrown into the Great Well, right away I was hit with the game's atmosphere, something that got even better the longer I played. My main objective seemed to be find my way out, however, I knew that may not be easy. After walking a little bit, I ended up finding an old sword next to a statue, and a pink floating crystal that worked as my warp, save, and level up location. Left up the statue, I broke a barrier and broke some pots. Things were starting off great. Yeah, I don't know why I thought I could make that. So instead I went left. I then quickly murdered a snow. I then found a health potion and then a locked door that I couldn't quite yet open. So I went looking around, where I ended up killing horse snails, killing a big snail, and looting whatever I found. Eventually, that's when I found a chest with a magic ring that casts a fireball, testing it out on an enemy that I realized was actually a friendly NPC. She told me she could take me to Ring's Rest, the safest place down in the Great Well, to which I said yes. Now, I may say this a few times, but the music in this game is so well crafted, something that has to be experienced firsthand and not through a video, because just listen to this. Anyways, I ended up meeting a crow who sold items, most importantly though, the enchanted key to open the weird eye door. I also dipped my weapon in oil, which seemed to upgrade it, and met an alchemist who I could make potions at, and then Clyde the skeleton who gave me a free health potion. Returning to the crystal, however, I spent my skill points from leveling up, and with the new key in hand, I inserted it into the door and traversed into the unknown, where I grabbed a torch. Things then became quiet. Realizing I was in a new location, I was a bit on alert, especially as I noticed weird faceless bodies lying all over. I had entered the Temple of Silence, which was once a place for monks who got cast into the Great Well many years ago. Exploring this area with only a torch in hand, I pushed through, finding more health and a few locked gates. Then I ended up finding my first real new weapon, a ritual dagger, and learned that different weapons had different types of status damage based on a little symbol near the weapon description. I then also found what looked to be some sort of praying area with a new magic ring that gave life to inanimate objects. Of course, I had to try it out. Okay, maybe there was a good reason this temple was abandoned. In other news, I found a lever that opened the gates. Going forward, I encountered my first new enemy of the area. I gave it a good little fire blast, chopped his head off, then ended up killing a few more nearby. After clearing the area, I managed to find a hidden door that led me deeper, which then led to another hidden door that granted me a magic ring that I ended up using a lot, as it didn't use my mana, but instead used my health. After taking a few scary hits and clearing the rest of the mummies out, I ended up getting lost, looping around multiple times. After some time, I finally found my way around, ending up entering what appeared to be some sewer-like entrance, and after killing a few more mummies, walked to a door and then entered. Before going too deep, I found another rest area, quickly doing my leveling and then saved. Traversing around, I found slimes, finding out that they take no damage from my blood magic, so I try to mix it up and use a torch to set them ablaze, as fire was rather efficient. I was also going around ensuring I touched nearly every wall, which led me to finding a hidden passage that led to a chest which rewarded me with an ice spell. And this game seems to reward you with items great for the areas you were currently in, so I used it for a bit. Then after killing slime after slime after slime, I entered a new open area where I played a bit of a Sniper Elite 5 on a poor slime below, and then found another hidden wall which led me to an ocean elixir, permanently increasing my mana, and a crystal used for warping back to Wings Rest. Nearby, I fought some skeleton slimes that did poison damage that required me using an antidote. By now you can probably tell that combat is rather straightforward in this game, but overall still really enjoyable. After these skeleton slimes, I got another new ring that acted as a barrier, probably good for projectile based enemies. And then, as I ventured deeper, killing even more slimes, found some neat items such as a ring that acted as a dash and a battle axe. I also found a door that led me out of the slime-infested mire. The Sanguine Sea, a large sea of blood in comparison to the closed underground areas from before. The rather open yet empty waters sent chills up my spine. I gave my surroundings a look in which I judged that the little light in the distance was a good option. However, halfway to that, saw even a further light that looked like loot and went there first to pick it up. This granted me the summoning ring of a fairy to help fight with me. Returning back, I entered, which led me into the Accursed Tombs. I suddenly wanted to be back outside with how the mood changed. Though I pressed onward, with it being so dark, I had to use a torch. Right away I was attacked by floating paintings on the walls. They attacked by leaving blue flames, but they were also able to blind me if I got too close. After dispatching the paintings, I got a little paranoid, thinking I saw two eyes in the distance, in which I realized was actually just torches that led me to the new area to save. I then found a lever that seemed to turn on some furnace or lamp. Not really sure what it did, though next to it was a hole in the wall where I dived deeper, which was when I then entered the catacombs. Summoning my fairy to help, I began to hear strange noises, and almost immediately my fairy began to attack. Being caught off guard by a headless horse, the fairy managed to take care of it before I could even react. Normal weaponry would not work, so I had to rely on my fairy for light and damage, with my blood magic as support. Getting deeper and exploring some more in the darkness, I found myself being attacked on all three sides, which in all honesty scared me, as I didn't expect it. I tactically ran away. After the horses were defeated though, I found a gate which I assumed needed some key or a way to open later. Traversing the depths even more, I found a ring that summoned coffins. I then ended up following some stairs that led me to the vampire sword, which I switched over to using for the majority of my time. I also found a sign that told me to light the 3 fires, which I assumed was one of those giant furnaces that I did earlier. At the start of the video, I mentioned how this game had a lot of interesting places to explore, and when I saw an opening a bit out of my reach, I remembered that I had a spell that summoned climbable walls, then realized I could also just stack coffins to get where I needed. This led me into an area where the friendly demon named Demi was sitting. She told me about how death was drawn to this type of place and about some other demon being nearby. I also got a ring that shot lightning. Going back down into the crypts, I found an entrance to the Mausoleum. I tried shooting it with blood, didn't work, then tried my sword that I got here and it actually opened. For the first time, I had entered a section without really any sound but my own. I didn't really trust the location, especially after Demi told me about how death and a demon was here, and given this was one of the last areas I explored, I was on alert. I did end up finding some hidden wall which granted me a new main hand magic weapon that was overall just better than the torch I had, and was also able to attack. After a few skeleton kills, that's when I heard an odd boom sound. Which was then when it saw me. After dodging and juking, letting my fairy do a good chunk, and getting a few good hits in, it blinded me and make it be even harder to fight. It seemed like there was no match for my ability to hold the S key and spam left click. So after this rather one-sided fight, I then went to fully exploring the Mausoleum. Using coffins to jump into some holes, I found a black book. However, before I could even give it a look at, I ended up being alerted to death. I don't know why I assumed I could kill death, but gave it a shot which quickly backfired as I was cursed, unable to attack, and was bled non-stop, so I ran. Death didn't seem to stop chasing me, and something I didn't know while playing was the longer Death is chasing you, the faster he got, so when I realized he had caught up, I noped the fuck out of there. Still not sure what the black book did. I spoke with Demi, who gave me a skeleton egg. I figured the castle was my next course of action as I did not want to go back there, so I prepped myself, making sure I got some potions, and you may have also noticed by now that Wings Rest looks different as the game had fully released by the time I returned. So I was even more excited to find out what this game had to offer. Going back to the Blood Sea, I went straight to the castle as planned. Just before I entered, I did find a cool rapier below the blood, and then saw something I didn't even want to go near, roaming the bloody waters. After killing some flying balls, I spoke to an injured knight called Garrett, who told me he was on his way to kill the lord of the castle, however didn't know how to get in. So after looking around, I figured that red plus blood equaled open, entering the lower depths. I summoned a few fairies and looked around the halls, finding myself fighting vampires along the way. Luckily, having my vampire hunting sword seemed to do quick work. Not much was a challenge here and seemed rather straightforward. The main reason I came here seemed to be getting the key to the main door, in which I returned to open. After killing a good number of vampires and one giant bat, I found myself a crossbow and unfortunately drank holy water, forgetting that I was undead. I then found my next key for the doors and went to the next area, getting ever so closer to the lord of the castle. Something about a once great kingdom and castle being reduced to nothing more than a standing memory really sets in a mood. As I traversed, I fought ghosts and found an interesting room which held a video of an ocean. With the final key in hand, I was now able to confront the lord of the castle. Unsure what he may be like, I came in as prepared as I could. I saw Garrett once again, who seemed to have lost the fight, but apparently was cursed with immortality, so he could never truly die.
Why do you disturb me? Must I suffer more fools?
The Dark Prince was rather tanky, and hitting him in certain spots negated all damage, so with the help of my fairies and light urns, I went at him. He turned into fog and teleported around, shooting purple beams or red beams that made me bleed. Hitting him to half started phase 2, where he would turn into a pile of rats, yet in the end he was no match for Mr. Bony Pants.
Enough. You may pass. Beware the depths below.
I had a few options. I could head into the prison and see what the area had to offer, could also enter the boiling grotto that I found below the castle, or even try and explore the one area I failed to jump at. At the end, the choice I made was to return to the very start of my journey and see about making that jump I failed so long ago. This place had a real nice uptight beat, and while exploring, I found an elevator that I went down, typed out of floating books, and looked for anything that could help me in the prison. I ended up in a more enclosed area where I killed a snail before seeing a blue door that looked familiar, as I could enter it due to the vampire key from before. With the whispering winds, I realized I was really high up, with some weird tornado or wind current in the middle. I looked around and only saw one pathway, which was down, and at this point I hadn't saved for a while, so I was rather nervous yet too lazy to go back. Climbing the treacherous chasm, I navigated the best I can, using coffins to ensure I made some jumps. Nearly dying due to them too, but I ended up finding a ladder at the top where I found a new spell and some book talking about the leap of faith it required. After some thought put into it, I realized it had to be some weird hidden passage or a way up. Shooting around, I found that my shots ended closer, and using coffins helped me guide. Now, I was so stressed in making sure I didn't fall and die, I forgot to look to see if I was recording. So here's the path I took. Overall, I got a cool new weapon and some sweaty hands for a bit. Not wanting to test myself, I used a warp crystal to get back, and then headed back to the Forgotten Archives, and then continued my journey where I left off. After killing a chimera and some more snails, I met a man who could read those black books I've been collecting, though once I gave him one, told me to return later. By now I figured it would be a good time to head to the boiling grotto from earlier, as it may hold some powerful items to help in the prison. Not even wanting to test myself, I avoided the lava, especially since as an undead I took way more fire damage than others. After finding some weird eye thing, I found Show the Crow trading. They asked me to help remove armor from some fellows, so I went looking trying to find an object to do just that. Eventually I found a lever guarded by an obsidian skeleton. Taking it out, I turned it off, which seemed to do something. So I went to the other side and did the same thing, which ended up opening the mouth of a snake in the middle and entered some kind of old ancient tomb. After failing a jump, I found myself in some underground section of the tomb, filled with enemies, pressure plates, and swinging axes of death that may kill me with a single hit. After failing another jump, I was surprised by a snake behind a hidden wall. Not even realizing I could have just walked around the holes. After getting out of that area, I noticed an item in a room, and not thinking much, went to grab it, which resulted in me getting trapped and about to be squished, forcing me to warp out and come back. I ended up going somewhere else and got a rather large jump scare from a mummy. At the end of it all, I finally found a magic ring that would be used for the golden armor that Cheryl wanted. I figured I got everything I could possibly need and went to Wing's Rest to prepare for the prison. The Terminus Prison. While down here, I fought jailers who were able to bleed you if you were too close, and shot fire from the candles when at range. After checking each door that was locked, I found my way deeper into the lower prison. Things were hard to see, and I figured my fairy friend from before would be helpful. I fought some weird giant creature that I had no intention of getting close to. I ran into an infested corpse that were more of a nuisance than a threat. And went even deeper, where I faced skeletons and skeleton dogs that would sometimes slow me if they got a hit in. While looking around, I kept hearing some booming sound, and as I found a way even deeper into the prison depths, I ended up regretting my choice as I met a screaming giant skeleton that was unaffected by my blood magic. Yet, I wasn't gonna stand down, so I came back and faced it. There wasn't too much down here for me, as it was tied to a different ending you can get, though through a blind playthrough I had no idea how, which I may or may not get around to. Throughout the current time, I went back to the prison, where with the key from picking up earlier, began to open every cell door and look around. I ended up finding a lever that unlocked a large gate. Before I went there, I also found the same guy who tossed me down here in the Great Well at the very start. somehow getting himself stuck down here too. Despite him cutting my hand off, I felt bad, and with his kind words, he parted from life. I then once again found Garrett, who I guess was mistaken for a prisoner and attacked. He asked me to find his hammer, which after some time I found and returned. I also got myself a cool new candle weapon that was better than my twisted staff. Now finally at the door, I knew I was close to the end. The final area, the Forlorn Arena. After saving, I traversed to search for 2 symbols that would open the main gate. First, entering a water-based area where I fought mushrooms and floating green sacks, I was pumped on my search, finding a possible way out of the Great Well. After getting the first symbol, I went to a different side, which was based around Earth, the host of the final piece. I fought dead trees and lizard people as I searched. With Kira defeated, it was up to me to beat the cursed Undying Knight, the guardian of the Dreamer. I used everything I had, the staff from the sandy tombs, bombs, my jailer candle. He was rather a tanky foe and super hard to bring down. I couldn't even use blood magic as much as he was able to poison me, and with him jumping around, I had to dodge and weave everything he threw. Casting blue fire, swinging his large sword, while I summoned lava beneath his feet. The summoning lava that I had was rather useful for this fight, as it forced him to go around, resulting in him eventually lunging at me. When it seemed like all was lost, my friends from Wings Rest came to help and save me. Thus began the glorious showdown. And just like that, he was defeated. After talking with my friends from Wings Rest, I went forth to wake the old one from his dream. As cheesy as it sounds, it was quite a journey to have made it this far, and I think Mr. Bony Pants and I were happy to have taken it. And if you've made it this far into the video and haven't picked up the game, I really recommend it. The music, the atmosphere, and I haven't even scratched the surface with some of the neat things you can get. Overall, thanks for watching.
a dreamer awakens, what happens to the inhabitants of the dream, or the world that was traveled, or the pain that was felt? The experience will linger sometimes, and the dreamer will remember. Some aspects of the dream will travel the veil and live with the dreamer in the waking world. There are no credits here, because this isn't the end. Newest of the fallen, take up your sword and fight.
Oh, and Mr. Boney Pants is a father now. Okay, bye.